If you use the internet on a daily basis, and chances are you do, you probably don't put much thought into cybersecurity. You know, your network connections, the pages you visit, the files you download. You should be thinking about these all the time. Welcome to And Security for All. Your host is Kim Hakim. We're here to help you understand, in general terms, how and why your cybersecurity should be kept in check. Now, here is Kim Hakim.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of And Security for All. I'm your host, Kim Hakim. Happy Wednesday. I am excited for today's episode. We are going to be diving into a powerful conversation about workplace culture, leadership, and why balance beats burnout, especially in a high-pressure, fast-evolving industry like cybersecurity. You all know about burnout. It isn't just about working long hours. It's about the systems we operate, the experience, the expectations we carry, everyone else carries, and the outdated beliefs that shape how we lead and show up. While, of course, these issues often surface with women in a male-dominant industry. I've been in this industry 20 plus years and hosting these cybersecurity events. And when I first started, maybe 1% of my audience was women. We might be up to 20%, but it's still not powerful enough. It's not large enough, but we need all of our male peers to help with this. Just trying to invite women to everything. But this just isn't about women in this industry. This is about the human conversation, the leadership, creating space for more authentic and inclusive ways of working. I'm excited to be joined today by someone who truly embodies what it means to lead with both strength and empathy, Eva Benn. She is a cybersecurity leader at Microsoft Security. She's been a keynote speaker, one of the top 20 cybersecurity women in the world. She's also named the top 20 most inspiring women in cybersecurity. She serves on the advisory board at CEH and GIAC. She's been a driving force behind hacking games and holds all kinds of certifications. She's been featured as a keynote speaker with FutureCon. For those that don't know, FutureCon, we put on about 30 cybersecurity educational conferences all over North America. She has been in a few of our events, and we look forward to seeing her more in 2026. She's been on the show before. So today we're going to be talking about burnout, leadership styles, the power of embracing both feminine and masculine energy at the work, and how building human resilience may just be the most important strategy we have in the age of AI. So let's just get into it. Welcome to the show, Eva.
Wow. Thank you for the great intro, and thank you for creating room for this conversation, Kim. I think that we are, especially in Cybersecurity Awareness Month, everybody's racing to talk about best practices about cybersecurity. How fast do we adopt AI? What we are forgetting, I think, is how is this impacting humans? And I really appreciate you creating space for this conversation. I do believe it's important and it will help people.
Well, it is, and it's very important. And we just had, I think it was, gosh, my memory is so crazy because I'm on the road all the time, but we kicked off, it was October 1st. We kicked off our first episode. We revamped our podcast, and we had Jonathan Kimmett, who was the CISO for 20 years at Tulsa University, and now he's working for Elias, a cybersecurity boat. We kicked off Cybersecurity Month again, talking about AI and talking about the evolving, where is cybersecurity going and how do we keep up and where do humans have a role in all of this? So I think burnout, we see it all the time. I see it as I'm securing speakers all over the country, and just they were here last year and they're not here this year. So what's happening? We're just seeing, the workplace, there's a high demand for employees, but then you have a high for demand for employees that can't get jobs. And where is the quality of it all? So let's just kind of let's start off maybe talking about the burnout crisis and where do you think we are with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So before, I think one of the key things that a lot of people miss is that burnout is a security risk. The Verizon breach report continues to show an alarming trend. Over the past 5 years, no matter how much money we throw at security, the human element continues to be the primary reason for breaches to occur. And so, what does that tell us? That tells us that humans are inherently vulnerable. No matter how much information and training we throw at humans, if we don't secure the human operating system, as I like to call it, it's very unlikely that we'll achieve the desirable results, because usually hackers, and especially now with AI, which has amplified the problem, humans are a primary attack vector. And so, what we need is to ensure that they have the resilience to make the right decisions at the right time. Usually, people don't do the wrong thing because they mean ill, they have bad intentions. They do it because they're either experiencing emotional distress, psychological dysregulations, and just essentially things that are related to burnout or experiencing some sort of struggles. So I think that this is why it's so important, especially in this fast paced, technology driven, innovation driven world, for us to look within first and to see how are we empowering these human beings to actually perform in their best. So I think that you're right. I don't have any data to back this up. I just have anecdotal evidence, but there is an increasing number of people who are experiencing burnout. I think part of it is that we are trying to keep up with everything happening. There's this like inherent FOMO mode that everybody is moving faster and we just need to keep up. And for women in particular, I don't want to make this about women at all. I'm just happen to be a female species. So I have some personal experiences with that, where I feel like I've been trying to operate like a male, just because I've been taught that this is the way to succeed. And I think it's the same thing for our male friends, right? Everybody has their own things that make them uniquely who you are. When you're not aligned to these, that's where burnout happens. It doesn't happen because you're taking too much work or because there's too much pressure. It happens when you're pushing yourself to embrace someone else's identity that is not quite yours. That's kind of my perspective on this.
Well, and I know we don't want to make it about women, and I'm sit on the WEC's board, and I'm a very big advocate for women in cyber, but I never ever ever want to offend my male peers out there, because there's so many of them that support us, and they're so important, obviously, to the industry. So
Oh,
and
absolutely. I mean, and if there's something I do want to add to this, by the way, obviously I am a diversity advocate. This does not mean I am a women only advocate. I don't think that we can have a successful cybersecurity industry with only women or only men. I do believe that men and just bring some natural masculine qualities, and like this doesn't have to do with genders, by the way. It has to do with which energy you're more aligned to. You could absolutely be a woman that feels more comfortable in her masculine energy, or a man who feels more comfortable in their feminine energy. That's totally okay. It's not about how you look or how you were born. It's about what is more aligned to you. And I think that we are we've adopted this belief that the masculine type of energy seems to be the only way to climb the ladder, to succeed, to always do more, to achieve, to drive, to compete, which is great. And we absolutely need it. I just think we need to also create room for creativity, for intuition, for empathy, for connection. To be honest, these are skills that come very easy and natural to me. They don't come very natural to some of my extremely brilliant colleagues. And guess what? When we bring these things together, that's, I think, where the magic happens. It's not about just my skills or just your skills. It's about how do we bring these together and creating space to look at different at leadership from a different perspective. Like it doesn't have to be just one way. It has to be allowing people to show up to what feels true to themselves, because that's what makes us shine. And guess what? When I'm aligned to my energy, to my feminine energy, to whatever makes me who I am, I can work 20 plus hours. I mean, I can work endlessly and I don't get tired. But when I try to fit myself, because I went through a lot of burnout cycles, I mean, a lot. And I think that a lot of people here, no matter if you're a male or female, you have probably experienced that. And I was always thinking, oh, it's the workload. Oh, I'm always thinking too much. But no, it was just because I was trying to compete and compare and just always do more and just be like my male colleagues. And obviously that was never going to be who I am. And that was burning out. I think it's misalignment. I think whoever is listening, if you're experiencing a burnout or have experienced a burnout, I invite you to reflect on it and really dig beneath the surface and think about, was it really the workload or was it an alignment issue?
Well, let's talk a little bit about how AI can help with some of the burnout. I mean, we all, I mean, you know, probably didn't go to bed until like, I have a project I'm working on right now that aligns with, what we do as an organization and just prepping for 2026. So, it's easy to procrastinate things and then all of a sudden you're under the gun and now
Mhm.
you're going to have to work really hard to meet your goals. And I'm the worst at it. That's just who I am. I'm never going to change. I work better under pressure. But how does that, let's talk about that. How can we avoid some of these burnouts? And let's talk about some of the things that, because there is a big burnout crisis. So
Yeah.
let's talk about some of the things that, let's first, like your experience. What happens when you get burnt out? What are the things that once you reflect, once you look at a week of like this was like the week from hell, what could I have done differently to not get to this point?
Oh
So
my
let's talk
gosh.
about some of those things. Let's talk about your burnouts first and then how you could have went and maybe, fix that so you didn't end up where you
Yeah.
are.
Well, thank you. That's super personal. Before I dive into that, I want to address one thing that you mentioned. You're always procrastinating, you're leaving things for last minute because you like to work under pressure. And I think a lot of people are like this. I think one thing that I have adopted as a micro habit is to not put things off, because I think subconsciously when you do that, and it's like you're making it to be bigger deal than it is. And then once you think that it is a bigger deal, you inherently put more effort in it. So you're almost like making your life harder. Like I'm a psychology nerd, so I constantly study human behavior. This is the social engineering side of hacking. And I think that this is one thing that I have discovered. So sometimes, like, if you have something to do and just like do it almost like, oh, it's no big deal, you're going to end up evolving it. And everybody's different. But just a tip for those of you listening, if that's something that would work for you, I just wanted to throw that out there. And then back to your question, I do think that, as I said earlier, I went through I've gone through so many burnouts in my career. And I think that a lot of the times is that I have put myself in a position to do things because I love a challenge. I absolutely love a challenge. And it's almost like a trauma response of some sort that I feel, and I think a lot of us struggle with this, that we feel like we need to prove something to ourselves, like constantly, even if you achieve. And that's why you see how many certifications I have. I never have enough because I always feel like there's something more I need to achieve. And I don't feel comfortable to just sit and be. So I think that this is one thing I would say. If you're struggling with constant burnout, I would do a full recon investigation on within what's happening, what's really the trigger. It's never about the workload, it's never about your boss, it's never about your company. I mean, I know that some of you would disagree with me, but truly, even I would give you like a hypothetical scenario. If you are in a job that is putting too much pressure on you, or not valuing you enough, at the end of the day, like, you are allowing that. I mean, like, we do have some control. So I think that alignment is the biggest way to avoid burnout, and to sustain some sort of mental balance. Because if you're aligned and you want to do something that is really aligned to your heart, there is just burnout just cannot happen. It's a work of love. And I do a lot for the community. Everybody's asking me, like, how are you doing it? Well, this is work that I'm doing based on my alignment. And I think, Kim, you can empathize a lot with some of the stuff that you're doing and you're driving. I see you do so much as well. And I think that a lot of the stuff that you do are also coming from alignment.
Well, it's hard to, I don't know if you feel this way, but I always feel like I'm not doing enough,
Yeah,
and
that's
yeah.
the pandemic. I think that's the real. I always like to look at things underneath, right? This is the hacker mindset. At the surface, oh yeah, so much work, everything is moving fast. I think underneath, when we dig beneath the surface, there is this societal pressure that told us that we are only worthy if we achieve more, that we need to compete. We're inherently wired to look at other people and and use that as a baseline, where the only baseline is ourselves. And you know what, like, if you choose to be a stay-at-home mom, you're successful. Okay, if you choose to go and do nails, you're successful if that's what makes you happy. I think that this is the narrative that I'm trying to change. Like, if you are a male, for instance, and you want to go be I don't know what is a female driven profession, but if you want to do something that is not considered manly, I don't care. If that's what makes you happy, go do it. I think that this is the reframe of success that we need to all adopt and drive. It's not necessarily, there's no one path. I was under the impression that my only way to succeed in this world is to be as technical, as aggressive, as competitive as possible, to drive the corporate ladder as fast as possible. And I was burning out while doing this. And then somewhere along the way, as I got older, I'm turning 42 soon in this month, I was like, you kind of start to see things in a different lens, and you realize, hold on, like, why am I doing this for? Is this a theater? Like, do I want to just be successful so other people think I'm successful, or do I want to do what makes me happy? And happiness and success looks very different. So, just
Well,
some
it
things to
does. I
consider.
mean, we talk about this all the time, and we talk about, being a leader and how leading your team in a healthy cultural environment. And that is not as easy as it sounds
No,
because there are workloads. So let's talk about a little bit of like outdated work beliefs. And, what would you how do you think we're evolving with AI? I know AI helps me a ton and it is making my job a little easier, but sometimes it's probably a little evident that I'm using AI too much. So I have to be careful. I have to find a balance of it. So what are your thoughts on that?
absolutely. Before I dive in, once again, I'll make one comment. I think that there is a paradox in today's world where we're all encouraged to use AI, but if we use AI and it's too obvious, then we're judged. So
Yeah.
this is the paradox. Oh, this is so ChatGPT. Oh, but you don't use AI. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So I say, use AI shamelessly. It would be a shame to use that resource because you're trying to appear smart, or to be frank with you, as far as my, obviously work wise, as you know, Microsoft is a big leader in the AI driven world. But aside from Microsoft, which isn't my place to talk, because this is not a Microsoft podcast, it's an Eva podcast. I think that in my personal life, I use AI excessively for anything and everything, from productivity to research, because I also contribute to the security community in many other ways outside of the work. And to be honest, it's a very powerful tool. I think that I use it. I mean, ChatGPT is the obvious one. There are tools for literally everything. I mean, from building presentations to building websites to doing research. I do believe that it's exponentially allowing you to be more productive. Now, when we think about AI in the workplace, obviously, I think as a leader, if I put my leadership hat on, if I see that my employees have more resources and can be more efficient, I'd encourage them to do that. So therefore, the output expectation has increased. It's not that we just all of a sudden get this like magical 40 hours back because AI does all these jobs for us. So I think that to stay relevant, aside the burnout, to stay relevant in today's world, in the cybersecurity and beyond, we absolutely need to understand how to use AI beyond ChatGPT, how to use, especially in the agentic driven world that is emerging upon us. We are going to live alongside agents who are going to be doing multi-chained actions for us, which introduce a different attack surface if we have to talk about security. But when we talk about just us as people using them, we need to know what are the benefits, what are the capabilities, as well as what are the risks, so we know how to use them effectively. So I'm pro AI. You have to use it, but don't use it just to use it and just to stay ahead because so and so from your team is using AI for everything and you feel like you need to catch up because you're not using it enough, but you only use ChatGPT. Like, don't compare. This is my point, because that's where that pressure comes when you're trying to act. Actually, this is what it is. It's like acting versus being. Like when you try to act like somebody else because you want to be somebody, that's, I think, where the burnout happens, because your body is telling you that this is not who you are. When you're being, when you're acting like from your own identity, I think that that's where you can really fully unleash the power of the AI and really use it intentionally.
So, what do you, because again, there are so many other things that I'm learning myself above and beyond Chat GPT. Because obviously, I mean, like yesterday, I just started using Copilot, on Microsoft, and it's been
Yeah.
sitting there and I love it. I was like, well, this is awesome. It's right next to me on all my emails. My inbox is insane every day. So, still don't know how to use it all the way, but I am using it. But there's so many different tools. So again, I believe those tools are there to help us so we can be more efficient. It certainly helps me be more efficient than sitting there for a half hour thinking how to come up with an email because I'm generally talking to a lot of executives, but I'm sure those executives know that I used AI on some of the responses, but I
They
don't think it
probably do
really
too.
matters. Yeah, exactly. Because it's just, the CISO, that's just an example, their inbox is insane as anyone's because, of the platform that they sit on. So I'm certainly sure that they're using these tools to help. But they also, I don't know, the whole CISO role is beyond. I mean, I'm so honored that they come to my events and they spend the day there because I see them out in the hallway on the phone all day. And, again, the burnout of a CISO is probably one of the biggest that I've been seeing. There's just so many changes in the industry, and people that have high level positions or maybe even government positions that you see start switching over to the vendor side of things because we all
Hmm.
know there's more money on the vendor side of things. So what are we going to do about that kind of burnout? Because we need these people that
Mhm.
switch over to the vendor side. We need them working for our municipalities and our things that are going to keep us safe, our families safe. And I'm seeing so many of them,
Yeah.
switch over to the other side.
Yeah, yeah, no, I know. It's actually, I definitely talk to a lot of people who are experiencing this. Again, anecdotal evidence, no full data to support it, but I also talk to a lot of women who are just kind of reconsidering cybersecurity altogether. I am not going to lie if I say that I haven't I haven't experienced in moments where I've been like, okay, I'm gonna go do lashes. But I think that it's about like
Well, that's
it's
not going to happen. I have to say, you can't leave the industry. So go ahead with what you have to say, but
but
I don't
I'm
see.
being very transparent. I'm being very transparent
Yeah.
because by the traditional kind of looks on the outside, I know that some people may look at me and think, "Oh my gosh, like she's achieved so much." I just want to be here and just share with everybody. It hasn't been easy. I've had my own moments of doubts, and I probably still will at all points of time. So you're not alone if you feel like there's times that you want to throw the towel. I think that we need to. It starts. from the top. It starts from leadership. It starts if you're a people manager, ensure that you align your people to the type of work that really enables them to bring their best and aligns with their talent. I think that that's really the crux at the end of the day. It's not about, like, I'm not talking about treat people with a feather, like they don't need to work, like just throw them a paycheck and don't expect anything back. Like, obviously not. We have a business to run, and I understand that everybody here ultimately has a mission to drive, but it's about aligning people. I think that this is where I see the majority of struggles people experience, where their managers are just not capable or willing to align them to the opportunities that are designed to their skills and their strength. And so as a result, people are trying to, every day they come in, they hate their job, they burn out. It's not, I don't know, I just have this theory that it's not the workload. I think it's just alignment to the right things. We do have so many different domains in cybersecurity, so many different types of roles, both technical and non-technical. And I think there are different skill sets and passions that people can align to these. And I've seen it. I've been working in technical teams for a very long time, both from an engineering to pen testing to red team. And I've seen it all. I've seen how people are misaligned to the opportunities, and then I've seen people that are aligned to opportunities, and it's not the workload. It's just, are you doing something that aligns to your purpose, that aligns to your talents, that enables you to feel like you're contributing? Because everybody wants to feel valued and everybody wants to contribute. Like, I don't think that there is many people that just ride the paycheck. I mean, of course there are, but in today's world, I don't think that there's many jobs that enable you to do that.
Well, we at FutureCon, one of the things that we started doing after, as you know, after COVID is we implemented, our honorary awards. And I am so happy. It's not that much, that we do, but we are acknowledging, 20 to 30 people at every event, for their hard work in the industry. And I know anyone that is getting that, that there's so many comments on social media after they get their award. And just again, I think that's just a small little token of something that we all should be doing to recognize those people that are in the industry working hard. It doesn't matter if you're a CISO or you're just started working for the company as an intern, you have to reward your employees and you have to acknowledge their hard work, and you can't let people just come to work every day and just do the grind and not do anything back for them, or you're not going to have a good team.
Yeah, and I think it also comes back to, if somebody is not aligned and doing work that they don't necessarily enjoy, or they're not good at because they're trying to fit somebody else's little mold, I think that they're inevitably not going to do as great of a job. I mean, you can't go against the current. So I think that recognition and appreciation obviously is very important. And us as humans, we seek that connection. But it's also very important for us to create the right opportunities. I really love that you do this. You do such a great job at FutureCon and creating community. And I think that this is what we need more of. We need more community in cybersecurity. We need more people we can lean on and that can feel supported. As you know, I don't know if you've seen on LinkedIn. So this month I decided, you know what, I really want to celebrate some women that are making an impact, that have inspiring stories, but these stories just kind of never get heard. And one of the key thing that why I wanted to do this is because, one, I wanted to share and just help the world understand that it's never about titles. I think that titles are there for a reason, because different people, like from executive to middle management to, intern, they all have different purposes. They're different purposes, they're different goals, right? And I think that we have embraced that thing that there is this, like, oh my gosh, like somebody, because they have a fancy title, they're so scary and they're this like superior person. What I'm trying to drive with this series is that, you know what, there are women who are early in career who are making meaningful impact. We should celebrate them just as much. I think that we need to get away from that old way of thinking that somebody's fancy title defines purpose and defines somebody's impact. Yes, this is very impactful. Like there's people that are in senior leadership who are incredibly inspiring and we need to look up to, and I do too. But I also think that there are people who are just getting started, who've accomplished a lot, who are making a meaningful impact, who have bright future. And I think that we need to celebrate them just as much and we need to respect them just as much.
Well, how do you think, going back to, the topic of this whole show is, why balance beats burnout? Where, again, let's go back to that. And how do you balance things if you're on a security team that, there's only two or three of you and there needs to be 10 of you? And there's not budgets that aren't going to allow to hire more people. So I can't wrap my head around how are you going to manage those people to not get burnt out?
I mean, I think that again, it's about creating the opportunity. Like, okay, so I'm going to give you one example. I am technical. I know security. Like I've done a lot of hands-on work, but I'm also extremely creative and I'm very passionate about communicating clearly. And I think you've seen that through our engagements. And so I've always been under the kind of the impression that my communication skills and my ability to connect with people and build community is just kind of like not very valuable because it's not technical. So I've always been trying to hide it and just not really go with it. And lately, I've been doing a lot of kind of self-discovery work, I just realized, you know what? These are the inherent talents that I have that make me uniquely who I am and are quite frankly contributing to the overall team success because my skills are pretty unique. So instead of hiding them, why don't I lead with them? Why am I trying to hide because society has told me that I just need to be this ultra technical, serious person who's just like always thinking in one way. So I think that embracing that and maybe I think that it starts to having leadership who understands people management and understands people's talents and making sure that they're aligned to what they need to be doing. I think that's how you get the most productivity out of people. Align them to something they love doing, and guess what? You're unleashing somebody who is just about to do. I think that 1 hour of misaligned work, yeah, like you can accomplish 20 times more if you just do it in alignment. You know what I mean? It's like if I do something that I am happy with, and inevitably, like, don't get me wrong, there is going to be always things that we don't like doing, like, yeah, obviously. But I think the primary purpose of your role, if you can align your team and your people to what is their strengths, like are they really technical, what part of the tech stack do you like doing, like for instance now with AI, I think we also need to create more opportunities for teams to empower them to see how they can solve problems and view them differently through the lens of the AI ecosystem. I think that this is also really important. If your team is not using AI, by the way, you're behind. Like you have to just make sure you understand the risk, and that's how you empower your team as well.
Yeah, and I guess it has to, going back to some of like the old school beliefs and outdated workforce beliefs. Fortunately, my team is pretty young, so they know way more about AI than I do. So I think everybody, and we're a small team, we're not Microsoft, but again, do you feel, we've seen some pretty big companies out there do massive layoffs in the last year. Do you think that has anything to do with AI?
Mhm. It's a reasonable assumption. I can only speak on an assumption.
Right.
But, like it is. I think that there is going to be reshuffling of roles, even more so than we see today. A lot of the roles that we have today, objectively speaking, I'm speaking on just as a security professional. I'm not speaking as a Microsoft employee at this time. But I think that we are going to see reshuffling. There is very reasonable expectation that some of the roles that we see today as they are will disappear, but new will emerge. And so until that reshuffling kind of happens and things settle, I think that we are probably going to be seeing more layoffs. Again, this is just my personal opinion. I don't know. There's no facts. I'm not sharing any news or anything like that. But I think that while we figure that out, we should expect more turbulence.
Yeah, I guess that's the sad part of AI, but there's so many positive parts of it as well.
I do believe,
So,
though, I just to kind of highlight, as I mentioned, like I don't think there's going to be a full elimination, because if you remember in my keynote when I went to speak to Future Code, we talked exactly about this. We've seen this before with every major transformation in history. People are scared. Oh my gosh, we're going to lose our job. And there are jobs lost, but there are new ones created. So during that kind of void period while we are reshuffling, I think based on history, we can expect some turbulence until we figure things out. So that's why I was saying earlier, staying ahead of using AI productively, not just to use it, and not just ChatGPT. There are AI tools, there are agentic tools where you can really use the agent to do stuff for you. You need to understand this technology because this would make you relevant in these new types of roles that we'll be seeing.
well, let's kind of shift a little bit. Like we probably have about 10 minutes left. Time flies talking to you all the time, Eva. But
Likewise.
talking about like just energy and leadership and how are the leaders of this industry, where do you think they need to navigate again to go back to keeping, their peers, their employees, anyone under them energized and not burned out? Where do you think? I talk to leaders about this all the time, and so many of them are so amazing just by standing up on a stage and talking. So many people, they pack our events because of the leaders that we bring in that talk to our audience. But I know I'm kind of going around in a circle here, but I have seen, that our events are in a hybrid mode. So we're packing our audiences, but I'm also seeing our virtual side doubling, which is
Mhm.
which is good. They're still getting their CPE credits and everything, but I want those people to be on site, but we also give them a platform so they can still be educated and learn. But again, going back to leadership, how do you think that the leaders can do a better job? And there's going to be somebody that's going to ring my doorbell. So while you're answering, I'm gonna put you on mute while you answer that.
Okay, no problem. Yeah, so I think that there's one answer, and that's listening. Listening and empathy. That's really what makes a good leader. Listen to your team, understand what they need, understand what they're struggling with, and not necessarily just with their workload, but beyond just as who they are as a person. And I think that this is where that empowerment and alignment comes in, because that enables you to see, is this person aligned to what they're meant to do? Am I really fully utilizing their talent? And I know that this sounds very simple. It's simple, but it's not easy. Because you can understand what someone's needs are, but the ability to really empathize with their needs and to understand how to put their skills in a way that they drive business value, that's not easy. It sounds simple, but it's not easy, and it takes good leaders. And someone who is technically excellent does not automatically make them a good leader, and vice versa. These are completely different skills. So empathy, listening, and ensuring that you create a supportive environment, where everybody can be themselves, where they can drive with their feminine energy if that works for them. They can be soft, or they can drive with, it's all about creating that balance.
Well, and the reason that I brought up the virtual attendees is they just simply can't get out of their office. And,
Mm.
and that's why we keep, the hybrid mode going, is for those people that can't get out of their office. They can at least tune in, listen, still continue to be educated, but they're so inundated with work or emergencies or what have you, they just can't leave their office. And,
I
I feel
mean, yeah, I think that this is unfortunately, where it's, if you think about it, there's two ways to look at this. One is, if you have a job that doesn't allow you to leave the office, I think it's important for you to consider, is this, am I happy with this situation? Because we always have a choice at the end of the day. Like, I know that people say that we don't have a choice, but we live in a pretty first world country. At the end of the day, I grew up in Bulgaria, where I know what it's like to not have a choice, and I don't think that that's where we are today. And then the other thing is, for leaders in particular, is going back to my listening and empathy. If this is someone who feels like they enjoy being with people, they feel the need to be connected, then I think that you should consider creating these opportunities for them. But there are a lot of people who don't enjoy being around people. There are a lot of people who prefer online interaction, and that's, again, that is okay. So it comes back from the two layers. We look at from a leader perspective, goes back to listening and empathy and ensuring that people have the opportunities to be and do what gives them energy. And from the employee perspective, I think it's important for us to reevaluate constantly. Is this working for us? Are we aligned to what gives us energy and what we like doing? Like, I love sharing my thoughts with the community. I love building communities up. I love making people feel important and feel seen. And this comes very, very naturally to me. But it doesn't come naturally to everybody else, right? It's not everybody, but some people just don't like that. Some people are like, oh no, I want to be behind a computer. Please don't like put me in front of people. So it's all about preference. I don't think it's fair for us to make an assumption for that everybody wants the same thing. And that's where I think the crux is.
Well, I think like the last thing I'd like to talk about is just human resilience in the age of AI. And, you know, I think most people believe that still humans are the weakest link in
Yeah.
when it comes to cybersecurity. So, what would your take be on that, and any advice on how we can continue to change that?
That's crazy. You asked me this question now because I can talk about it for the rest of the day. This is
Yeah.
literally this is a topic that's very, very near to my heart, and I've been doing a lot of research on. If you remember, even back in 2023 when we did the keynote together, I talked about one of the key things that AI is transforming is bringing the attack surface to the human layer. We now interact with AI systems the way we interact with humans, that makes us inherently vulnerable to manipulation and social engineering in ways that traditional software was never capable of doing, because we used to need other humans. So I think that the attack surface has shifted fundamentally towards the human layer, and that's where the most danger comes in. I actually made a couple of videos on Sora 2 because I was following what was happening right after it exploded. And shortly after, the top search term was free Sora 2 watermark removal. And this is only the beginning, right? When we talk about AI, we're no longer just talking about phishing emails, which, by the way, now the scale and the quality of these, as we all know, has exponentially increased. But what we talk about, the other layers are, deception through misinformation, through fake news article, fake social media campaigns. I have a lot of people who, even myself, have been targeted with, deep fake voice, not video as much, not yet, but there is definitely a lot of attempt out there. So I think that this is only going to increase. And this goes back to the human operating system. I think first we need to ensure that we are not burnt out. Burnt out people are security risk. We make bad decisions. When emotions are high, when our batteries are low, we are not going to make the right thing. We're going to be wired for shortcuts, and we're going to be wired for making poor choices. So first layer of defense is make sure your team is freaking has a balance that they need, right? They obviously need to bring their best selves. I'm not saying don't make them deliver impact, but ensure that they're aligned to what fits the most. And then ensure that when you're that you understand the AI risks that come with the benefits. There's a lot of capabilities unlocked. It's a powerful tool, but it's also a powerful weapon. I do a lot of actually talking about the human operating system, how to protect ourselves in the human, in the age of AI as humans. And I have a lot of content that I have out, and also will be cranking out exactly on this topic. So yeah.
Well, I'm super excited that you're here today. And after all these years of knowing you, I think I still say your name, your last name. Is it Ben or Bean?
It's Ben.
I was like,
I
when I
know
was
it.
starting to introduce you, I was like, I always mess that up. So anyway, Eva Benn, I'm so happy. I wish we had more time. We'll definitely have you back on the podcast again. We appreciate everything that you do for the community. If you're not following Eva on LinkedIn, definitely follow Eva, because she does have tons of content. I love how you upped your game on social media. I follow you all the time, love all your posts, and you're such an inspiration to the women in the community and all the practitioners in the community. So thank you for all your hard work, Eva. And I look forward to seeing you in person at one of our future events. And again, thank you everyone for tuning in to another episode of And Security for All. We are going to be next week. We'll be in Milwaukee. So and then November, we have a very big month. We're going to be in Atlanta, Phoenix, Boston. So all over the country. I'll be at all those events. So can't wait to see you all. If you haven't checked out a FutureCon event, you definitely should just go look me up on LinkedIn, message me if you'd like to have a pass to one of our events. So everyone, have a great week. Stay safe, definitely stay secure, and we will see you next week. Thanks, everyone.